Okay, third video is running. This is about the Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation actually, because I really recommend to take on d5 here. e5, bishop g5. So why the exchange variation actually? I think it's a very good idea to play this here because of two reasons. First, it's maybe just the best line from an objective point of view. It's just promises more advantage than anything else here in the Queen's Gambit, and it also is the less interestingly enough, it involves the lesser amount of theory to study in comparison to other lines. For instance, if you don't take on d5 and play knight f3, it's possible, no doubt about it. But now black has a huge choice. He can play takes on c4. He can play bishop b4. He can just play classical bishop b7, and then you need to try to get something against the likes of the Lasker variation or Tatakova and so on. It's a huge amount of theory, and it's really a better option to just play the exchange variation here. It's easier to play, and it's just promises white more, I think. And let's have a quick look here. The first thing that needs to be explained, why does white exchange on d5? Doesn't it help black to get its bishop out immediately? Yes, it does. The bishop doesn't have the problem anymore of the pawn on e6 blocking, but white has got some other advantages in comparison. He has got an extra pawn in the center. C pawn has been exchanged for e pawn, and it's actually pretty tricky to get this bishop on c8 developed somehow. I would almost say it's not possible to do it in an active way. Let's have a quick look here. Black's main move here is c6. He can also play bishop e7 or knight bd7. It doesn't make much of a difference. Usually in, I don't know, 80 to 90% of the games you get the same position over and over again. Now e3, bishop b7. Let's play this played mostly. Here just a quick remark about bishop f5, which is looking very logical because it develops the bishop and it anticipates white playing bishop b3, then black would just exchange. But white has an annoying move here, queen to f3, and this is really annoying for black. This is still playable line, but usually you get to something like this. The bishop is attacked and needs to retreat. And this is really an endgame which white can play for a win for, I don't know, like 50, 60, 100 moves. And black just has a very thankless task of defending this position. It's playable, but it has been played by some grandmasters actually. But it's not a real joy to play this as black. You should take this happily as white. Bishop e7 now, bishop d3, knight bd7, and now 1 point of this whole move order. White plays knight to e2 and not to f3, which is perfectly fine, but here you see one advantage of not committing the knight to f3 early. Because white has got the option to actually use the square e2. Black now castles, queen c2, rook e8, just normal, and now, well, my recommendation would be to play short castle here, but it's also interesting. Maybe you can just mix move orders to go for long castle. This is very aggressive, of course. White has idea to play h3 g4, knight g3, and just go for a huge kingside attack, which is dangerous, really. It's a very sharp line. You can go for this, but the main line here is just short castle. This is a line that scores really heavily for white. I don't know, it's certainly above 60%, I guess close to 70%. It's very difficult to play for black. Usually black plays knight f8 to get the bishop out somewhere, and then f3. And white's idea here is to expand in the center with e4. After some preparation, it's usually not possible to play the next move, but you oftentimes need to put rook on d1 first, or e1 or king h1 to get the king out of the diagonal here, but then go for e4 and try to really build up a huge center. It's often leads to great attacking positions for white. After e4, captures on e4, fe4, it's a very nice position. This is a line that many black players like to avoid, and this is also the point of a very interesting move order, which is bishop e7. Lots of black players here, especially if they have put in some study, play bishop e7 first and not bishop g5. And the idea is that if white wants to go for the exchange variation, what I recommend to do this nevertheless, but here of course white cannot play bishop g5, it's just hanging. And okay, what move should he play? Bishop f4, of course, but this is just a different line. So with bishop e7, in terms of facing the exchange variation, black has just avoided the specific line I just showed with the long line with f3 at the end, this position. Bishop e7 is really played only to avoid this line, and because black doesn't mind if white plays, for instance, knight f3, knight f6, this is no huge concern. It just leads to other lines. But black just plays this move because he's more willing to play this position than the other position with f3 at the end. Okay, I'd still recommend to exchange here. It has still got some good possibilities to play for an advantage. It's not as powerful as the other kind of exchange line, but it just makes sense to combine these two lines. Black mostly plays c6 here, then e3, and bishop f5. This is played mostly. There are some other ideas, but this is played mostly. And it's just the line you have to look at if you prepare this for white, because it's the eternal question: can black develop this bishop freely, or is there some issue with this? There are actually there's more than one issue. One interesting idea, which is very aggressive and fits well with the other lines, is to play g4 here, an old move of Mikhail Botvinnik. Bishop e6 is the main move. Bishop g6 also possible, but it's answered by the same move. Now black can, white can actually even play h4, which is very aggressive. Takes lots of space on the king side. What is really dangerous here, if black would actually capture on h4, this is hanging. Queen b3 then, it's a very annoying move because b7 is attacked, and black also needs to protect the bishop on h4, so he just has to move b6, and then white really makes huge progress. Knight f3 with the tempo, bishop e7, knight e5, and now one possible line, knight f6, g5, knight retreats, and then even g6, and white has got a huge attack. It's just just looks awful for black to defend this position. This is just one example. Of course, black can defend better. This is a bit cooperative to take on h4. Other lines that are interesting here are actually knight g2 and then knight g3. For instance, let's say knight f6, knight g3, and then h4, h6, h5, bishop h7, bishop b3. The idea is to now exchange this, because black has committed to h6, and then if this bishops are exchanged, white will get a knight on f5, and this is really annoying. So white has some ideas here to play for an edge. It's just a different kind of exchange variation compared to the other one. But it's very nice. You've got a very clean and solid structure, and the stable structure in the center always gives possibilities to play on the flank, like g4 and so on. It's interesting, and white still has got some possibilities to vary. It's not one specific move order, and if this doesn't work, it's a problem. For instance, in the recent Russian championship, Morozovich actually played h3, I think, and I'm not 100% sure. Something like this happened. I'm not sure. It's possible. There are a lot of interesting active possibilities. Other moves you have to look at briefly here are on move 2. I didn't tell anything yet about the Chigorin and the Albans. Whereas the Albans, there's actually a very simple line with a3, and it's very doubtful that black can equalize this. I think this is just better for white, plain and simple. Black can of course sacrifice the pawn with f6 and something, but this is of course playable in blitz or bullet chess or something, but in a real tournament game, white is just a pawn up. One point of a3 is just to prevent bishop b4, and very often black responds with a5, and then white can simply play e3, and then he doesn't have the check anymore, so he's reduced to bishop c5, ed, bishop takes. I actually forgot the line. It's knight takes, queen takes, I'm not sure. I didn't look this up beforehand. The main point is white of course loses the pawn e5 back, but he just got the bishop pair in an open position, and this is not very attractive for black. It can be at, maybe some kind of slight disadvantage at best. Yeah, versus the Chigorin, white has got many options. I think you should choose of or between two lines. Knight c3, which might lead to a line like this with e4 to follow. Or the other line which is possible is cd5, queen e5, e3, e5, knight e3, bishop to b4, bishop d2 takes, and now pawn takes, which is also very aggressive, and with ideas of later playing f3 and e4, which is similar to other lines of the repertoire. Yeah, time is closing here. Please also check out the next video, as I will do some book recommendation about the lines I just showed.